Welcome to YogiViews, where my guest is yoga itself, through interviewing those who practice it, teach it, sell it, or simply love it. I am Antonio Saucis. Swami Vivekananda, who has been credited with bringing yoga to the West, gave cardinal importance to three teachings as most needed by the modern world. He said that one's highest achievement and greatest happiness lies in fully manifesting one's own divinity. He also said that one's clearest vision lies in the perception of divinity everywhere. Lastly, he expressed that one's truest worship is the selfless service of his fellow men, for his fellow men are, in reality, God Himself. One of the spiritual groups that continues to spread the wisdom of Swami Vivekananda and yoga is the Vedanta Society that is spiritually affiliated with the Ramakrishna Order of India, founded by Swami Vivekananda, for one's own liberation and for the good of the world. One of its goals is to spread the idea of harmony of religions, for they lead to the realization of the same reality known by various names in different religions. The order honors and reveres the founders of all world religions such as Buddha, Mohammed, and Christ. Many have said that Christ was one of the most serious yogis ever known, a concept that is somehow controversial, especially for some Christians. To discuss this topic, I invited today Swami Vedananda. Welcome, Swami.
Thank you.
Swami Vedananda is a senior monk of the Vedanta Society of Northern California in San Francisco. He is well known and respected for his contribution to interfaith dialogues and guiding students in Vedantic philosophy and religion. Before taking his monastic vows, he earned a PhD in physics. Swami, my first question to you is, what was your first experience with yoga? The first time you met yoga for the first
time? The yoga that I met was actually what maybe today not really considered as yoga, because the emphasis today is so much on the physical aspects when one talks about yoga. Mm-hmm. But yoga's most profound aspect is its philosophical side. And that was my first introduction to it. And through the Vedanta Society in San Francisco and the Swami, who at that time in the late 1950s was in charge of the society. He has since passed away, but it was his inspiration that led me to take a very strong, active, and serious interest in this.
So it was the philosophical aspects of yoga?
Yes, it was the philosophy.
Was it a particular concept, a particular aspect of the philosophy that?
It is what is usually referred to as Advaita Vedanta, that is the philosophy of non-dualism. But that is not just the aspect of the non-dual nature of reality, but the fact that this non-dual reality is actually the foundation of all reality. It isn't something different. It was the all-encompassing nature of that philosophy that it seemed to answer all the basic questions that I had, and that it seemed to be the foundation or provide the support or rationale for all aspects of existence. It seemed to be like the total answer to the total question. That is what was attractive to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And then at some point you also enjoyed the physical part, I would imagine.
Physical part only, I must admit, not the yoga exercises. I was never very much adapted to that. Somehow it never really entered the picture for me. But there are many different yogas. Philosophy is one aspect. Devotion is another. That all aspects of devotion, from the most, what one might call the most rudimentary to the most philosophical and advanced, are all aspects of one central devotion, one central love. And also, as far as work is concerned, that yoga actually includes all forms of action, not just these exercises. Actually, these exercises are very, very small, sort of the very small basis for yoga. Basically, it refers to only one sutra in the Yoga Sutras, and that is the Sutra on Asana, which says Sthiram Sukham Asanam. That asana, the yoga posture, should have only these two requirements, sthira and sukha. It should be steady and it should be pleasant. Now, for that, a lot was developed later, and it was very, very well developed, and it's very good that it was done. But it all refers to this one idea that in order to achieve depth of understanding, depth of realization, one needs the cooperation of the body as well as the mind. And so the body should be steady so that the mind can concentrate on the deeper realities. And to encourage that, these yoga exercises have been developed. But not only that, it was found out also that certain diseases and anything that troubles the body, yoga has a lot to say about that. So it has great importance. But as far as I'm concerned, the aspects of yoga that really attracted me were the philosophy, the work, the action part, and the devotional part.
Mm-hmm. Now, we are naming, and you name Advaita Vedanta, we are naming a lot this word Vedanta, and not a lot of our viewers necessarily know what Vedanta is. So tell us a bit.
Vedanta is actually a combination of two words, Veda and Anta. This compound means the end, Anta, of the Vedas. The Vedas being the foundational scriptures of Hinduism, and Anta being the last written portion, or the last developed portion of the Vedas. Now, some of the Vedanta, some texts of the Vedanta also come in the earlier part, but most of them come in the later sections of the Vedas, called the Upanishads. And the Upanishads are considered the foundational texts of Vedanta. And the word Vedanta itself, the end of the Vedas, refers to these last written, or mostly last written Upanishads. So that is the Vedanta. Following the teachings, their teachings, is what it means to follow the philosophy and religion of Vedanta.
Mm-hmm. Which in a way is also the foundations of yoga.
Yes, because the Vedanta is the foundation of all, at least in the Indian philosophical concept, the Vedanta is the foundation of all experience. It describes human experience from the most basic level, and bringing it to the least number of concepts. If one wants to simplify, the philosophy of Vedanta one comes to the Upanishads as being the minimal representation. What is the smallest number of concepts? What is the most fundamental concept that describes the realization of these ancient sages? So yoga is the whole of that effort to achieve fulfillment in life is called yoga. Mm-hmm. So yoga means the union, from the Sanskrit root yuj, meaning the union of what? It's the union, you could say, a total integration of personality. It's the union of all aspects of human nature. You could also say it's the union of the finite self, which we feel ourselves to be normally, with the infinite reality, which we conceive of as the ultimate experience. And so yoga is definitely an integral part of all of this. It's one of the important factors involved. But it takes it is under the umbrella of the Vedanta. It's under the umbrella of the Upanishadic, ultimate Upanishadic experience of what human life, excuse me, is basically and fundamentally really like. And so Vedanta is still the foundation, but yoga, as you could say, is the how to put that into practice.
Into practice, yes. Now you are naming it, or have named it, partially as related to Hinduism. Yoga as related to Hinduism. Now we also know that yoga has been practiced not just by Hinduism as a religion. So tell us a bit about that. Can we extrapolate yoga from Hinduism, or are they inevitably united?
Yoga is, I was mentioning, is the union of the finite self, which we conceive ourselves to be presently, with the ultimate reality, which we posit, and which certain great souls have experienced. So anything that brings about the union of the finite with the infinite, actually it's the merger of the finite in the infinite. When the infinite is seen and experienced, the finite is no longer perceived. But in this, the whole process is called yoga. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, if you think of yoga simply as physical exercises, that's one part of it, but the full picture involves all of human striving, all of human effort. All of that is yoga. Any attempt by the finite personality to reach its fundamental nature, to reach its substratum, any attempt by the finite to behold the infinite, to experience the infinite in any form, is a form of yoga. Mm-hmm. Now, the physical part of it is one aspect of it, but there's very much more.
So in that sense, there is an inherent way in which most religions then are a form of yoga, because they all have ultimately the intention of bringing the individuals and the finite close to the infinite.
That's absolutely true. All religions are forms of yoga, because all religions speak of the relationship and the approach between the finite and the infinite, between the individual soul as it conceives itself to be, and the ultimate reality, which it will view, each religion views in its own way. But the process is always a union of something which is limited and dependent to a concept, a reality, an experience which is unlimited and independent.
Now, for a lot of people that don't necessarily want to belong to a religion, but they still want to attain this union, I would like to ask you, what is the difference or the similarity, or how does religion and religiosity, if that is a word, yes, relate with spirituality?
Religion has many forms, and our Swami Vivekananda, who brought Vedanta to this country in 1893,
to the Parliament of World Religions.
At the Parliament of the World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago, he said, he pointed out that religion has certain aspects. One aspect is mythology, another aspect is ritual, and a third aspect is philosophy. Now, all religions have those three aspects. The philosophy is the basic understanding, the basic framework within which everything takes place. It is the method, the basic teaching of the relationship between the finite and the infinite. But many people are not able to concentrate on the rarefied aspects, the highly theoretical and highly abstract aspects of this philosophy. And not only that, but even those people who can concentrate and who are happy to concentrate on the most abstract forms, at times feel that tremendous urge to for something more concrete and more
tangible.
And so the rituals are involved. Before rituals, first is the philosophy, then there's the ritual. The ritual is philosophy concretized, you could say. Ritual is the means for making that which is abstract, which the mind, if it dwells on that plane all the time, the mind will get tired. It will seem so theoretical. There doesn't seem to be any connection with ordinary life. So ritual comes in and provides makes the abstract more concrete. So God seen, or the infinite, the eternal seen as a principle, becomes a factor to be worshipped, to be served, to be loved, to be followed in various ways. And then, but between the philosophy and the actual ritual, there's also the mythology, which makes because the philosophy itself is so abstract that it doesn't easily lend itself to being ritualized. But from the philosophy, great exponents have developed a mythology as the third aspect. So mythology is philosophy concretized, you could say, less concretized than ritual. So between philosophy, which is very abstract, and ritual, which is extremely and intensely mechanical or formal, there is this mythology which provides the bridge between the two, and the mythology shows how great people have actually embodied that philosophy in their lives, and then the worship of these exemplars, or the following of the exemplars in a ritualistic way, becomes a path to access the philosophy. So philosophy, mythology, and ritual are three aspects of, or three facets of that one attempt of the human, that's deep in every human being, to go beyond the finite with its obvious limitations to something which is infinite and unlimited.
And how does this all relate to spirituality?
Spirituality is that attempt of the finite to reach the infinite. That is spirituality. And it'll result in certain experiences, sometimes on the mental level in terms of a great deal of satisfaction, in terms of peace, in terms of the feeling one is helpful to one's neighbors. It leads to an enlargement of oneself. Normally we're concerned only with I. And that becomes very restricting, very limiting in the long run if we don't bring others into it. Because our very nature is to be infinite, and if we constrain ourselves to be just I, me, eventually that becomes very detrimental to us because it doesn't reflect the reality. So this enlarging that concept from me to that, in between there's a whole panoply of things that can be done. I mean, the karma yoga brings in these things, bhakti yoga. Karma yoga is action, how to put philosophy into action. Bhakti yoga is devotion, that ultimate reality which is we understand as the source of our being. If there's great love for that, that is one of the what is considered one of the shortest paths of reaching it. So that not only are we philosophically committed, but also we're committed in a very emotional and very deep,
loving way.
Deep, loving way. And so these are all, and that is all spirituality. Everything that is done to connect the finite to the infinite is spirituality, and it can be done through devotion, through great love, through great self-sacrifice, through action. It can be done through philosophy by seeing the one in the many, actually trying to penetrate through this multiplicity into the unity which the sages tell us is there, but which we don't see. And that tremendous effort to penetrate from the many to the one that is hidden by the many. All of those things, these are different yogas, different spirituality, but it's one thing that's being done with many different aspects.
Many different aspects. Certainly Christ and the religion that is based in his teachings and in his practices and his rituals can be seen as a very important way of attaining spirituality, of connecting the finite with the infinite. What do you think about Christ being a yogi?
Well, Christ was one of the prime examples of a being who felt himself always connected to the infinite. The finiteness of his apparent nature was always for him intimately connected with the infinite reality of the Father. And so he was certainly a prince of yogis. And to make that a little bit more in terms of his teachings, basically we can consider that he had we can bring his teachings under three heads. The first one would be what you might call taking the position that we find ourselves in, the present position, where we see I am different from, I don't see any connection between myself and others. Theoretically, beyond, we know we're all human beings, but we don't see anything deeper than that. So in that, feeling ourselves to be in that position, we pray if we want to extricate ourselves from that. One method is prayer. And that is, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That, the Lord's Prayer, is an example that Christ taught of this Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti Yoga, correct.
Yes, and devotion to God. And then another statement that he made is, I am the vine and you are the branches. That is what we would call the Vishishtadvaita, that means the qualified non-dualism. There is a unity between me and you. I am the vine and you are the branches. The vine and the branch is not separate. We are one entity. But there is a difference there. I am the totality. I'm the vine and you are portions of it. You're sections of it. You're all connected with me. And we're all one. There's in a great feeling of love and belonging and unity, but there is that distinction. And then he also said, I and my Father are one. And of course the people who heard that wanted to punish him for that. How can he say, I and my Father are one? But this is the Advaitic position, that the ultimate reality of the finite and the ultimate reality of the infinite, there is only one reality, and that difference between the finite and the infinite is what we struggle all our lives to overcome. So I and my Father are one in essence, and this has been seen as... there was a question about 300 years later. There was a council to determine whether Christ was God or Christ was God-like. And at that council, they asked St. Anthony of the Desert to come and give evidence. And St. Anthony came to Alexandria and he said, I have seen him. That's all he said. I have seen him. In other words, that Christ was the infinite, the eternal, that is always present, that cannot be, could not have been crucified and buried and was no longer accessible. So Christ and his worship and the approach that he... We read the Bible and we can easily understand the sayings of Christ in terms of that Vedanta also describes. There doesn't seem to be any difference.
This concludes the first part of a two-part show where I'm interviewing Swami Vedananda. My guest today, Swami Vedananda, is a senior monk of the Vedanta Society of Northern California in San Francisco. He is well known and respected for his contribution to interfaith dialogues and guiding students in Vedantic philosophy and religion. Before taking his monastic vows, he earned a PhD in physics. I hope you liked our show today. And if you care to let me know, shoot me an email at antonio@yogiviews.com. I look forward to seeing you the next time.